It's the alternative. And then somebody said, have you lived in Lyme your whole life? And the answer
Not
is
yet.
not yet.
Yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah.
Zetsky?
Okay, now, just have to make sure I'm getting into the right meeting.
And the owl on.
Recording in progress.
Got it.
Hey, Mr. Owl.
I'm waiting for the thing to come on the top.
Okay.
You know, he had naturally straight hair and he permed his hair for this entire
No.
show.
No.
Yes.
Really?
So
Really, once he got started,
ridiculous.
he figured if he changed it, people wouldn't understand. And so
That's crazy.
the thing he disliked about doing the show most was having to perm his hair.
I don't blame him. Okay, I'm going to open the select board meeting. We'll have it die hard at 9:04 a.m. We have members of the public, Ms. Quinton.
Can I check my audio?
Yep, we can hear you.
I'm not, okay, you can hear me? I wasn't hearing anything.
I
I'm
can't hear
checking.
anything but you, James.
And it sounds like we have
Okay,
Mr. Graham and,
Same problem as before.
that other voice.
Jan Williams.
Jan.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
yeah, I don't hear anything
Yeah,
Me neither.
You guys can't hear us? Yeah, we
we can
had
hear
that.
them, but we can't hear.
Okay, we're hearing you, but we will work on that.
It hasn't connected to this yet either. It's still working on it.
Okay,
Couldn't connect, it says.
okay. Wait, next week we'll have a mime here who can,
It's ridiculous. This is just,
what's it saying?
Little wheels turn, you think that
it's,
electronic connections like
You know,
Wi-Fi
it could
would
also
take
be
the
this
hand of it.
storm or.
well, the
those-
internet, well, I had to reconnect everything and I don't usually have to do that either, so.
Now he's doing happy little clouds.
Can you hear me now?
Yay, yes.
Excellent.
Jordan, you were coming to save the day, thank you. Yes,
Oh,
Thank you, Jordan.
Jordan is on. Okay,
Jordan is on.
thank
yes.
you.
I
All
still-
right.
Well, I still can't get on this fancy TV, but who cares?
I can hear everybody, yeah, all mute now.
Thank you. Okay, public, let's start in-house. Ms. Quinton?
Sure, I'm just here carrying the flag for the leak group. Making sure that we understand any concerns the select board has about the agreement, the EAP.
Okay,
And then I just had a question about land use change tax.
okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought that there was a certain amount of area around a house that had to be like normally taxed. So I don't, and I thought that it was more than 1.5 acres. So these properties that are taking 1.5 acres out of land use change, because I think you have to count the curtilage, like all the area you mow for your lawn. So-
Okay, so, thank you. We
Yeah.
can address that later.
Yep.
Or I think Dina will have a more precise answer than I
Sure.
have. Mr. Brown?
Are you going to be discussing the abatement request?
We have them on the agenda.
Good, thank you.
So that's our intention.
All right,
As you know, things sometimes change.
things change. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm guessing that Mr. Graham is here also for the LEAP, and which is the Lyme Electrical Aggregation Program?
No, it's LEAC and you have an EAP.
Oh, okey doke.
I'm here for that.
Thank you. Whatever alphabet soup you're here for, we appreciate it. And Ms. Williams?
be, my question is similar to Hebe's, so I won't, add anything to it right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, not on the agenda, we have from the State of New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration a form that we fill out every year. It's the PA 28, Inventory of Taxable Property. And traditionally, Lyme has not participated in this, we do not fill out the form, and we just need a motion to say that we don't intend to do it this year, and then we can sign it.
We weren't thrown in jail and we didn't fill it out last year.
Nope,
We haven't filled it out for over 20 years. Or we haven't required residents to fill
Residents
it
to
out.
fill it
That's
out.
what it is, you mail it out.
Oh, for
Most
that.
of them don't send it back in, there's no way to make them, there's no
it's not required.
penalty, there's no nothing.
What
So-
is the reason for the thing?
Well, some towns use it because they hope that people will, check off that they have something different on their property, or they use it to who's living there, but.
It's personal inventory. I can remember years and years and years ago filling one out, but
And years and years and years ago, when Lyme used to do it, there was like a penalty, there was a $10 fee or something if you didn't do it. Now you can't do that, so.
so do we have a motion?
I moved not to fill it out.
Okay.
Send it in,
Not to
right?
require it,
Not the same thing,
right?
I'll second.
Okay, David, all those in favor say aye.
David,
Judy,
aye.
aye, David, aye, Ben, aye, it's passed. It's a PA 28, is that right? Inventory.
Is this on the agenda for
yeah.
tonight?
No. No,
She said that to begin with, but you
No,
must have
sorry.
missed it.
not on the agenda. So next on the agenda, we'll let David sign that. He's gonna peruse it for a minute. Then we will do the approval of the June 29th minutes. Thank you, sir. Okay, June 29th public session minutes. What do we wish to do with those?
I'll move them.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, David. All those in favor say aye.
Then I.
David, aye.
And Judy, aye. Approved. Okay, that's these guys. Intent to cut Tim and Lynn Cook, map 406, lot 9.
I'll move it.
Okay. I will second it. All those in favor of this intent to cut, Ben, you've reviewed it, I'm assuming, since you
Yeah.
moved it.
Oh, it's a big cut. Then I.
David, aye.
Judy, aye.
Sign it. I know that we all sign this one.
The one in the packet?
Oh,
No, I think you want an
I
original.
have the originals. I'm pretty wrapped up in getting my papers organized, sorry.
We should have probably given you another minute.
No, that's okay, I should have tried it first.
Okay. Then, this is a good time to talk about, we have 2 land use change tax warrants to be approved and signed. And one is 6.2 acres for $21,500. Get it? Thank you. And the other is 1.5 acres for $9,580. So, let's see, we have the information on the first one. Recommendation from our assessor. And this would be new residential building being constructed on this property, so it no longer has the minimum 10-acre requirement.
Originally, it was contiguous to a larger tract.
Okay, do with this one?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Ben.
I'll second.
Thank you, David. All those in favor say aye.
And I,
Judy, aye. So, that's approved. The next one I'm projecting with the guests is why we heard the question about 1.5 acres. So Dina, before we get into this one, do you want to explain about how land use change tax briefly is assessed?
Well, as far as the amount of usage, you have to include the driveway, any building, structure, septic, areas like that. You can't, it's not just the physical building.
Right, and you do
And the
the,
curtilage would be included.
curtilage is
That's right,
included.
that's right. This was a piece of land that had a half an acre out. And they're taking out, the new owners are taking out an additional acre and a half. I shouldn't say new owners, sorry. It's a new building they put up. So they're taking out an additional acre and a half, so they will have 2 acres out altogether of current use, out of.
What's this is the heaven can wait place?
This is the, whatever that's called, yeah, slice of
Slice of
heaven.
heaven.
Slice of
Wait,
heaven.
where is it?
It's down on River Road, it's 605 River Road.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm just gonna go read, because I thought you had to have 3 acres around your house.
No, there's no requirement to have,
there's no minimum acreage.
no. No, if somebody has a little teeny house sitting right next to the road, then, it could be that. It doesn't have to.
So you don't, not required to take out what the minimum lot size is.
Correct.
I think you might have used to have had to do that.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Maybe, I don't know, but now.
So if you're in the rural district, it would have been 3 acres. If you were
Right,
somewhere else and
right.
happened to have a bunch of
Yes,
land,
and
it
that's
would be
not.
less. So now they make this little envelope around.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
because some people, they could have a driveway that's a half a mile long and then, lots of big buildings and.
Sure.
Okay, so what do we do with this one? 605 River Road, land use change tax, and the amount of this one is, Poliani, $9,580.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Ben.
I'll second.
Thank you, David. All those in favor, say aye.
David, aye.
And I,
And Judy, aye. And that one is approved.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm interested in knowing what triggers, the, land use change tax. I know in theory, but, in actual practicality, do you, expect the owner to, just play by the books? Or do you monitor, building zoning permits and then, send the assessor out within a certain amount of time, or what's the, process?
Well, the answer is yes on both. We do expect owners to be up front. But generally, so it doesn't fall through the cracks, the assessor will get the permit, and then they, depending on what time of year they get it, if they get the permit in June, July, or August, the assessor's going to visit that property prior to the next April 1st. So that's when he would figure it out, and it also just depends on what kind of a construction it is, if it's a new house, if it's just taking land out, as to when he actually goes. So it does vary, but it has to go from, it goes from planning and zoning with the permit, then it goes directly to the assessing department. And so they're the ones that would trigger the visit for the current use.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me agenda is the Lyme Community Power Electric Aggregation Plant, LCPEAP. I can start off by saying I read every single page. My eyes crossed. I don't understand most of it.
James is laughing.
I don't know what to tell anybody, so I will open it up to Ben and David
Yeah, I
and a
read it too,
discussion.
and I just have a bunch of questions. I don't know who we get answers from. We could start by talking to James or folks from the Electrical Aggregation Committee, or maybe we need to speak with town council.
James is ready to unmute if you'd like to listen to him.
Sure.
Okay, James, you have the floor.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I assumed that you guys would have lots of questions, and I guess we should figure out like the best process for, you know, going forward, because I think that this will probably be like the first time, you know, we'll get those questions answered and work on another draft, and I imagine there might be another set. So I'm open to suggestions. I would, we have pretty quick response from the people at CPCNH, who are the ones who, you know, generally answer our questions. We might be, you know, I might be able to answer some, but I wonder if it would be best just to submit the questions, or, you know, I mean, we could try to answer some here, but I would also be, you know, might be good to have the questions in writing, and then we can share them with the people at CPCNH. But again, I'm happy to try to
Where does
talk
this
things
come
out
from?
here too.
That was gonna be my question. Did CPCNH, are they
It's a
Yes.
template.
the author of this?
Yes.
Once you guys
So-
signed that preliminary agreement, we were given access to a lot of these materials. Yeah, we did not draft this. This is the template that's been created by CPCNH, and that the 30 towns that have already joined it have used as a model.
Model, okay.
Yeah.
If I can
Yes, James.
jump in.
Yes, please.
Right, so we start with this template, and all, you know, I read through the whole thing. We read through the whole thing and made some adjustments to make it Lyme's EAP, and we can continue to, you know, change the language to suit what we want for our community power. It's not, the only issue in my mind is that whatever changes we make, they have to pass muster with the PUC. And that is where CPCNH can help us make sure that whatever changes we want to make for ourselves, you know, meet all the requirements that are in the law.
Okay. And Dina, have we sent a copy of this to town council? Not yet.
No, because it's in such a rough draft form that I
Okay.
don't think you should.
Didn't want to.
Yeah, well, I think at the last meeting, I thought you guys were gonna do it, answer whatever questions. And then,
We get
when
another.
it's readier, you can write.
How do you feel, David?
I don't know, yeah, I'm not sure what the best route forward is.
Okay. Or maybe for our next meeting, we could have James and an individual from CPCNH. I don't know.
You know, well, actually paging through this agreement and trying to answer questions, that's probably an hour or an hour and a half.
Yeah, I would think it's
Right.
a lot of pages, it's pretty detailed.
What is the form of your questions, David? Have you written them on the draft?
Yeah, I just made notes to myself.
Another idea could be to, you know, use the, I don't know if you want to get into using like the track changes method in Word, you know, to just put comments throughout. That's another way. I mean, I would advocate for having the attorney look at it, you know, go through it, so that we come up with whatever, you know, issues might be a problem as soon as we can and get those addressed. I don't know, you know, what that means in terms of, you know, cost to the town, but
Right,
right. It would be good to have the town's attorney's eyes on it sooner than later, I think.
Maybe you, David, could talk to the town's attorney and walk through it with the town's attorney, because our goal is not so much CP, CNH, or anything, it's protecting the town.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if, at least when I looked at it, what swirled around in my head was, there's a lot of stuff here that could impact the town.
Yeah, it gets the town involved in the provision of electric power to people in a way that it's definitely not currently. And
Right,
so we wonder
yeah.
what are all the problems that could arise. Also,
So,
So,
James, do you know the answer to this question, or Hubie? Throughout this document, it talks about something called Lyme Community Power, and in capital letters. Well, do you guys know what that is?
After,
right, so that I would say is the kind of the evolution of the current committee. The current committee had been formed to investigate this, but once the town, if the town decides that they want to form the community power entity, that would be the organization.
You just said entity, so is this a separate nonprofit corporation? Is this I understand conceptually what it does, but I'm trying to understand what it is legally.
It's defined in the New Hampshire law as a community power aggregation. So the town can form a community power aggregation that, I don't know how else to put it, but it's like a, other than like it's a, you know, a functioning entity in the town that is formed by, you know, it's formed with the permission of the people at town meeting.
That may be a question for the lawyer, I guess, because I'm trying to understand,
Yeah.
is this a separate corporation?
And who oversees it and who administers it?
It's a, yeah, I don't know how to call it. It's not a corporation, it's just, and I wish I had the language of what the NHRSA is, but it's just referred to as a community power aggregation. And there's a committee is formed to make the decisions that that are associated with the aggregation.
Okay.
The only issue I have, if this is gonna be explained at town meeting, everybody's gonna have to do a lot better job in getting this into its simplest form, so the average person like me can understand it. Right now, I'm getting a lot of big words that don't make a lot of sense. It needs to be simplified and explained.
well, this is the legal document.
Yeah, I understand that, but to sell it at town meeting, it's gonna have to be
There's-
explained.
There's a couple of public information meetings that have to happen before any of this goes to town meeting.
Yep, you've already had one,
We had one that was
Well, we didn't-
completely preliminary.
right?
We didn't have a public
Right.
hearing.
Correct.
There needs to be 2 official public hearings, and our intention is to do exactly that, like distill this information down to, in a form that people can understand, because it really depends on the town understanding it in order to vote on it.
Right,
And I would say that, you know, generally, you know, dealing with CPCNH so far, the whole point of community power is to be, you know, to be open so that everybody can understand what's going on. Transparent, that's the word that I'm looking for, you know, that they want to be transparent. They want to make sure that whatever aggregation plan we come up with you know, that the town, that the select board is, you know, completely on board with, so.
Okay, James, thank you. So are we maybe at a place where maybe we have David and town council walk through concerns and then,
Sure, if I'm gonna do that, will you guys send me whatever comments and questions you have, so that I can sort of interface with him, and
it's gonna be
It would
Joe?
be Joe that you're gonna work with. He's the one who specializes.
do you wanna set up a call
Yeah.
for us, or should I just call him directly, or how?
I'll just email him and tell him, and you guys can set up what's good for you guys.
All right,
And I offer that, you know, I can try to be available if you want me
Okay,
there too, or whatever facilitates this.
Okay.
you know.
thank you.
thank you,
Yeah.
that's great, and thank you, Hebe.
Thank you for reading it, Judy, it's a beast.
Just was, really, it's going more and it's going more. I will try again, and I will get something to David. Okay, thank you for attending, and Hebe, and we will move along. Okay, we're gonna skip over and go to the asphalt paved apron requests that we've had for Shoestrap onto Route 10, and I believe that we've got some funding information that Dina's gonna share with us.
Yes. So, Scott had Blacktop come and they did Washburn, the bottom of Washburn, Shoestrap, Preston, and Whipple Hill. Because those were the ones that Scott felt, you know, should be done. I think there's actually a few more, 2 more, at some point, but, if they came, and this price is based on them doing all of them
4?
at once, right, because there's only one, you know, fee to move the equipment and all that, is $17,886.
17,880. Okay.
86. Yes, so, Scott thinks that, you know,
I'm sorry, Dina, to interrupt, could you tell me the locations again?
Washburn Hill, Shoestrap Road, Preston, and Whipple Hill.
Thank you.
And there are, like I said, there's a couple more that he feels should be included in this. His feeling is that, because of Goose Pond Road and because of all the big projects going on, this year, that he would like to plan ahead on it, include the other couple of locations, and possibly have a warrant article for this, either money to come out of the Class 5 road fund or a warrant article to fund this, because he doesn't want to use his block grant for it, because he already has
That's already earmarked
stuff
this year.
earmarked for it, well, this year and next year.
Did he express a feeling about whether or not he thought it should be done, or just if?
I'd like to hear from Sean on
I don't
Yeah, me
think,
too.
you want me to tell you what Scott
I
said?
want you
Sure.
to tell me what
Yeah,
Scott said, then
I
we're gonna go to Sean.
don't think he felt, because of the reasons, you know, of pulling out of Shoestrap and or even the line of sight stuff. He was in support of it because he said it would just make it nicer, make it easier, make it not break down so much there by the road.
The dirt onto the
The
Route
dirt
10.
onto Route 10, right.
What are the other 2 that you're thinking of?
I can't remember what he said, and I'm not sure he actually
Because I
told me which.
can't think of other dirt roads that come out on Route 10.
those
Yeah.
with the-
Well, not specifically.
It may not
But that's the
necessarily
state
come out on Route
highway,
10.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the roads he's thinking of may not necessarily come out on Route 10.
Right, but the way, I mean, think about, it, those are the ones that come out on the state highway, and the other ones are.
And that was
Town
because
roads.
these guys.
So- Sean?
I know in talking with Scott that, you know, he had thought about this a couple of years ago because Alan Rowell had brought it to Scott's attention and just said, hey, at some point, we might wanna think about putting aprons in a couple of places, because when he's trying to use the grader, he actually has to drop the blade, and when he drops the blade, the grader is almost all the way across both lanes of traffic. So if the apron's there, then he can begin grading well out of the travel portion of Route 10 and any other road. Plus it does, it gives when the state plows go through, every time they go through, and especially like this year when we had large amounts of snow in warm weather, they actually chew the ends of our road all up.
Yep.
And they build berms, and so, I would be in support the same as Scott, it's, I think for safety.
So it's a really winter maintenance issue.
Yeah, winter maintenance, summer maintenance, and just overall good for the ends of the roads is,
I move we take this to, as Scott recommended, next year's town meeting.
Okay.
There's no other, it's not that much money yet. Is there any other source of funds that we could do without having to wait until next year and do a warrant?
They keep piling up pretty soon,
You
it's
have-
real money.
You have no other funds that you can tap that don't need to be voted at town meeting, and it's too early to know what you're gonna have for extra funds.
Okay.
And also, I think they don't have time this year to do it, but if we
Well,
can,
we're not doing it anyways, right? We're just hiring somebody to.
right,
Blacktop, yeah.
that's true.
But we are
They
actually,
have to prepare it, so.
well, I need to clarify also that the 17,886 does not include the grading that would need to be done
So it's gonna
by
be more.
Rowell and Scott. And also there's one more thing.
So it doesn't include any prepping.
Yeah, prepping and finalizing of Sean, what's it called? On the sides of the roads, not the ditches.
Oh.
They don't call it the ditch, what do you?
Oh.
Shoulder.
this is shoulder,
That's it.
stone shoulder.
That's the buzzword I was thinking of.
It's one of those.
So
words.
shouldering.
Okay,
All right.
so Ben has moved that we take it to town meeting on the warrant, David is seconding
I'll
that.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
And
David, aye. Judy, aye. Thank you.
Should we respond in some way to the person who sent the original letter?
Yeah, we have two people that emailed, so I can respond back to them.
Phoebe, did you
Thank
wanna
you,
make
Dina.
a comment on this?
No, it seems like a satisfactory
Okay,
solution.
so Dina will respond. Okay, and so think we're talking about town meeting, thinking way ahead, something that is also not on the agenda that I thought about. The board should be thinking about whether or not next year we want to have Juneteenth as a holiday. We did get a couple queries this year about whether or not the town was taking it, the town didn't take it. It's not in the personnel policy. Just food for thought, when, you can't sleep at night. As whether or not that's something we wanna do. I can't believe I'm thinking about next March already.
So if we declare a holiday, do we have to get rid of another one?
Well, I don't think we can, because most of them are federal holidays.
So we just add holidays.
We add
Right.
one.
I don't know, heat up on Columbus pretty good, maybe we could get rid of Columbus Day.
Well, there's a thought. I can see it now. I don't wanna be here for that meeting. Okay, we have a Crossroads private lane agreement that we've agreed to, and we've seen a draft, and it needs signature. Do we wanna pass that around?
Sure. If I can find it.
Okay,
I had everything down here, it's in order.
private lane.
It's a private drive.
Okay. When they put those signs up, it either says
You have to have a certain number of pages for flywheel.
Enough paper clips, that's the problem. You gotta have more than one paper clip.
Private drive, private
So
road.
I'm gonna abstain on this one too because
Oh, yes, of
I'm on the
course.
board at Crossroads, so.
Yep. So we will do 2 signatures here.
So what changed? Because for years and years, it was like you couldn't do it because the state wanted to have an extra passing lane for that, to access it.
No, that has nothing to do with it. It's all about
Yeah.
911.
Yeah. This change is just purely 911. It's turning their driveway into a specific lane or
So they
road
can
drive.
do
Named
numbering.
road
So
so
they
that
can
you could call.
number
So what
each
happened that
building.
you were able to open that?
That second road, the
Yeah,
second driveway.
because that was the thing,
Yep,
for years,
you
that
were
you
right.
needed to have a turning
Right.
lane
I don't know.
before that was, access was,
I don't know, the state all of a sudden,
changed their mind?
Who
yeah,
knows?
or they went through the permit process again. I'm not sure how that, well, my guess is that when they added more buildings,
Yeah.
it probably gave them some sort of extra, I don't know, points or pull with the state because they had more staff, more buildings and more people, more vehicles.
Oh,
Yeah.
they weren't in here. Okay.
My understanding is that there was someone who was fixated on adding a turning lane and that person just left.
Thank you.
Some
That's good to know how your government
mid-level
works, doesn't it?
bureaucrat of some sort.
Isn't that lovely?
I like that answer.
The thing I've always wondered about is why there isn't a speed reduction. My reading of New Hampshire statute is that where you have a school, you're supposed to have a 10-mile-an-hour speed reduction. And in fact, the nav system on my car posts it, so when I drive by that area of the road, it
Says
shows a
40.
lower speed, but
We've asked that question, I've asked that question several times, and it's because it's a 55-mile-an-hour zone.
so I would love to ask that question and go, here's the statute. Where does it say that there's an exception for 55-mile-an-hour?
And maybe that's why whoever it was that was trying to get the passing lane to go in, or the third lane, the right turn lane, maybe that was their point. I mean, my other thing that I've asked them is, why do we have a passing lane in a school zone? Because there is a passing lane right there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Um,
It should be a
and it
lower speed
should-
limit there,
it should
and there's
be-
that nursery school right next to it too.
Nursery
There
school.
Should
was
be
an
double
accident a
yellow
couple years
lines,
ago.
there should be no passing zones in those school zones, but
Yeah, we.
Who do you talk to when you ask that question of the?
I usually
DOT?
wait until we get like a DOT representative here, or I get them at some other conference or something like that, and just say, hey, you know, what about these issues?
Because it's
Or-
also, the snowmobile trail goes across 10 right there as well.
Do we have a DOT contact?
We do.
Is that somebody I could call and ask
It
about?
is.
You send me that contact.
Happy to.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, the snowmobile trail goes across there and it's a wildlife alley. People are always hitting deer right there.
It's one of the, we had an accident a couple years back, right at the nursery school there, where someone was turning and got hit. I think there were injuries. I would just feel better if the speed was lower in that
You
little
know,
zone.
but when they put that in, it was a limited access highway, and many of those accesses probably shouldn't have been allowed.
Well, but, one day we might have a bad accident where people die and then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then there'll be all kinds of changes. Okay, moving on to something I skipped, which I did not mean to skip, is we have 2 manifests to approve. We have a school manifest in the amount of $500,000.
550,000.
Oh, it says 500 here.
I changed everything with that, Judy.
Thank you. $550,000 and a town manifest in the amount of $125,909.53.
I'll move them.
Wait, what's Solitude Lake Management?
That's the milfoil treatment.
Oh, okay.
I will
We
second
can move,
these.
then we're supposed to discuss.
Oh, okay.
I seconded it, so now you can discuss.
think that was the only thing I had a question about.
I saw
When I
that
went
one.
through and didn't know. We gotta get rid of this school, man, it's costing us a fortune.
You've gotta stop saying that. Be running you out of
As
town.
long as he says it with a smile on his face, it's okay.
Smile for the camera.
Oh, what was the thing, what's the lacrosse balls to state line sports?
We bought lacrosse balls for the youth sports.
Oh, okay, we actually have a
Yeah.
youth sport,
We do, it's a learn to play lacrosse sport.
cool, okay.
Yeah. We have rugby this year too. It was new and very popular.
Takes little balls.
Okay, that was all I had.
That's all you had? All those in favor, please say aye.
David,
Judy, aye. They are approved.
Those small expenses that get you.
The pond?
No, they do it on a field behind the school.
Oh, it's a
So
school
we have
program.
We have a gentleman that lives in town that played professional rugby, and he's a parent, so he's jumped in, it's very cool. Yeah, the kids have loved it.
Each other out
Right.
there.
Well, it's non-contact at this point.
Rugby?
Yes.
Well.
Yeah, it's not like, you're out there flattening each other, although I'm sure they probably would like to.
It's the only sport Dartmouth is successful at,
Yeah, rugby, yeah.
men's and women's.
I can't
Thank
imagine
you.
how many buildings go up down there.
I have
Is
to
there
tell
ever
you,
gonna, there's gonna be any green space left in Hanover when they get done their building? And what do they need them for? They don't have any students.
They don't.
who
They
doesn't
don't
have?
have that many compared to some universities.
Well, I want them to build out north of town.
Well, they might
Oh.
they might
Imagine
build
that.
it, They don't mow it
We're waiting
anymore.
for that magic day, it's gonna make a huge difference.
Well, where the law school's
You should
gonna
have built
go.
on Rivercrest, it's so
Exactly.
stupid.
Do they have plans to do a law school? Every once in a while that gets
No
floated.
comment,
Just don't be surprised when they build one.
right.
I would be surprised.
That would shake things up a little bit, you know?
Wouldn't that be different? Okay, moving along. Do we have Todd joining us this morning?
Not that I know of,
Okay,
unless we need to call him, he said, call him if you have a question.
we have an abatement pending. We discussed last week, we did have our assessor online at that point. Since then, the property owner and the assessor have met. We have a report from the assessor and a detailed list that shows a revised assessment for this property. It is parcel ID 408-22-1 through 408-22-21, parcel ID 406-20, and 408-22-2000, with a combined assessed value of $3,781,100. And we have a revised assessment of $2,357,700
Just $7.
which is an assessment change of $1,423,400.
Yep.
Ben or David?
I'll move it.
I'll second. Rich, have you guys now resolved all open issues? Is this sort of,
I think this is, a fair assessment, yes.
okay, so there's no remaining stuff, that this kind of wraps it up and you're comfortable with it?
This is a good enough thing for us to decide if we wanna go to Superior Court. I mean, we're
Okay.
much closer, so,
Okay,
so you should vote on this.
Okay, and we thank you very much for taking the time to meet with our
Don't
assessor.
disappoint us by going to court.
I think we can leave this conversation,
Right.
guys.
Yes.
Cool it.
Thank you, Judy.
We would be so
We have a motion on the floor and a second. I would like to move the question. All those in favor say aye.
And
David, I.
Judy, aye. We have approved this assessment change, the abatement, sorry.
And may I ask a question about process? What happens now? We get a revised bill?
No, you will not get a revised bill, you will get your revised, copies of all your properties, the 1 through 22.
Mhm.
You will get an abatement in the amount plus interest.
Okay, all right. Good. And so I'll work with Marcy if there's any questions.
No, if there's any questions about the assessment, it's talked.
Well, but about the payment and all, so,
Oh,
oh,
well, we'll just send it to you.
okay,
We'll calculate it and send it
Perfect.
right to you,
thank you.
okay?
All right. We have,
Need a motion to go non-public?
we do, we have a non-public with town council, and then I believe we are going to have 1 or 2 other non-publics following that. One will be personnel, and they both be personnel, we'll see. I've got this sign, I'm gonna put my little hot hand on it. And I congratulate folks for walking through the system and the process. And thank you, Phoebe, for coming down.
Sure thing.
And James